This show is Cars and Culture. Let's talk culture about online everything. How much has YouTube changed culture in your mind? And you've been right there from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, well, on a personal level, YouTube has changed my life and given me a world that I never thought I would ever have and a reach that I never thought I would ever have. And actually, it's interesting because, you're talking about your background in automotive news and On a Week, like the traditional media publications, there was sort of a hierarchy of how you worked your way up to first you're getting people donuts and coffee, right? And then you're reviewing cars maybe, and then you're going on trips maybe, and then you're an editor. And YouTube kind of democratized the ability to do all that stuff. And by the time I was 28, I was like a respected car reviewer somehow on the internet. And I think that has been an amazing influence of YouTube, is that popularity dictates more than almost anything else. And it certainly isn't like quality of production, because God knows production quality is not high. But I think like if you just, there was an ability to kind of be just a little bit more direct to the people that wasn't available to creators before that. Now, from the perspective of the audience, I mean, it's the influence of YouTube is unbelievable. Every single day, someone comes up to me to talk about my stuff, or I hear other things. YouTube DIY videos has like changed everybody's lives. You find anything on YouTube, music and music videos, and it's incredible. The story of the last 15 years, I think, will probably be the story of YouTube, kind of in concert in terms of our culture.
Wow. And you think about it, you can learn to play a musical instrument on YouTube. You can change a light bulb.
The house I'm sitting in, I bought from an 83-year-old woman. When she found out what I did for a living, she was so excited because she loved to use YouTube to do DIY projects in the house. This woman who was like Depression era woman is like sitting here doing projects on from YouTube videos like everybody else. Like it's changed. It's so impactful.
Before we get back to this interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. If you want to hear great conversations and Greg Ulan going deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it, I recommend adding Connected to your podcast rotation. Now let's get back to my interview.
Well, and let me tell you just a personal story. My 18-year-old son and his 20-year-old friends, when they found out that I'm talking to YouTube influencer Doug, went just about bananas. So, and what's funny about that is that when you grew up, I mean, network TV was something, and you were a TV star, and now for that generation, it's he's a YouTuber, she's a YouTuber. Amelia Hartford's been on this program.
It's right, and another great example of this exact thing. When it's funny because when I started doing this and I started becoming popular, the first time someone ever recognized me on the street was in 2015. And people would say that I was internet famous. That was a big term for a while. And that's changed. People don't say that anymore. There's no qualifier anymore. Not that I would consider myself famous, but certainly almost every person who is well known now has some tie to the internet. It's not just like, oh, I know them from like Friends. It's not like seeing Jennifer Aniston. That almost doesn't exist anymore because media has become so fractured, right? Like some people watch on Netflix, Hulu, etc. Some people still watch network TV. Some people only watch YouTube, and so as a result, it's kind of a weird everyone who is a celebrity has their own weird niche of celebrity, but people don't draw the distinction as much anymore. It's not said with such derision as it once was. I used to have friends make so much fun of me for being a YouTuber early on in my days, and I think that's not happening anymore. I think people get it now.
Now, you're right. Another personal anecdote. We interviewed Jay Leno on this program, and there was one clip pulled out of a 45-minute interview where I asked him a question about not owning a Ferrari.
Yep.
And that clip,
you've seen it?
Yeah, there we go.
Absolutely.
And I walked into a Ferrari dealership, and somebody said, "Aren't you the guy who asked Jay Leno about not owning a Ferrari?" Which they didn't like very much, by the way. But isn't that funny? One thing that's pulled out and has been watched, I don't know, 5 or 6 million times.
Right.
It really changes the whole scope of what media really means.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. It changes it both for the creator, and for the audience of like where media is. And I remember early on, I couldn't get the automakers to return my calls. When I talked to them about, one of the main reasons I started using dealerships was because when I talked to them about reviewing cars for a YouTube channel, they wouldn't even reply to my emails. It was like, they thought I was kidding. They thought I was a joke. And they don't think that anymore.
No, they don't.